best advice?
I think in our industry, everybody thinks I have to do all the right things, say all the right things, be perfect at what I do. I know me working with new teachers, it's always, what if somebody asks a question that I don't know the answer to? Not what if, when. Say, great, that's a good one. I have no idea. Let's see if we can work this out. Perfection is so overrated. Care enough and go out there and have fun in this glorious industry of ours.
Welcome to the Rogue L&D Hot Shots podcast, a short podcast allowing you to meet some of the brilliant folk driving people performance and development forward in an informal and human way. My name's Tom Bailey, award-winning L&D leader and passionate maverick for all things development. Join me as I ask just 10 questions of some of the industry's most innovative and interesting people. Tell us about yourself.
I am Chemène. If I had to give you a one-liner about what I do, I help educators get better at educating. There are two ways that I do that. I run a business called Blackwater Projects, and through that side of the business, I sell training materials that I try to put a bit of heart into, and I've got training organizations around Australia that use those. And the other side, I trade just as me, and there I'm willing to do anything you're willing to pay me to figure out, but it has to deal with quality education and training. So whether it's running workshops, whether it's speaking at conferences, whether it's providing advice to your organization, anything that lets me talk to really cool, fun people about how learning can work even better is a place I'd love to be.
What are you passionate about?
I think I'm one of those lucky people who found my dream job reasonably early, or at least I kind of knew what I liked, although I had a few jobs to get to the specific one. And it's that feeling, I'm sure you know it, Tom, when you realize you've helped somebody to do something they didn't think they could do, so whether that's to do their job better, or whether that is to perform as an athlete, or whether that is a school student who suddenly realizes I can play on the volleyball team. It's just that fantastic elation that comes with knowing you had a small part to play. And it sounds corny, I know, because everyone says it, but that's the number one reason I'm here.
What's the best L&D you've seen?
I parachute in around lots of different companies and places, so I see a lot. So I couldn't pick one, but what I can say is the best L&D program is any program that begins with what's it like for the learners right now, and then takes them through the entire journey, and where the design process thinks through not just the order taking part, like they've completed the online module, but the ones that continue through to the now what, how do we make sure they have the confidence as well as the commitment and the skills and knowledge to go out there and try doing what they do. So that's my answer for the best L&D program. It's one that starts, progresses, and finishes with really thinking about that experience for the learners.
Favorite hand gesture?
Well, I really liked your instruction, no rude ones. No, easily, I have a pretty easy answer. It's because it's open. I'm actually doing it really narrowly to be in the camera here, but anything open to say, let's do this, let's welcome the world and see what it comes. So that is my hand gesture.
One thing you didn't learn?
I learned a great deal that has helped me in my life because of my Olympic experience as an athlete. And what I learned wasn't so much about getting a medal, because I didn't get one, but what I did get was all these life skills that help me understand that when I end up in an incredibly uncomfortable position, as I did many times throughout my elite sporting career, it was going to be all right. And what it taught me was just get in, try it, and you will be fine, and you'll come out a stronger, more confident person for it, regardless of whether you fail or succeed. So that's what I think I have learned the most from courses that weren't courses.
Proudest moment?
As a coach of the B team of the school that I taught at, they were all year 5 and 6 students, and we went into that tournament. We lost every game, which we knew we were going to, but there was a whole week of stories behind that. There was lots of practices with ice cream in the gym at 7:30 where we talked about realistically what we could do. And I think the reason I was the most proud of that was because we got some really frustrated kids because they were on the B team, not the A team. And we managed to get them into a cohesive unit that was so supportive of each other that by the time we got to the huge inter-school tournament where we lost big in front of huge audiences, they were so supportive of each other's efforts that we had every single coach from every single other school come up and say, your team has just showed us what this tournament should be all about. And, we lost big, but it was my single proudest moment as a coach was a school teacher coaching the year 5 and 6 mixed volleyball team.
Worst experience in L&D?
It was the first time that I had applied for a job, and I was new to teaching and training in Australia, so it was the days when I said yes to anything. And I delivered a train the trainer course on behalf of an organization. There were only 3 people on the course, and they had me training in a room that sat right outside the staff offices, so that was fine. On the 3rd day, the final day was the day when everybody came in, the 3 people, and they took turns delivering a training session to each other. So that was all we needed to do on that day, which meant we were finished by about 12 o'clock. So the 2 things that made that horrible were that I had, in the morning before that, I had gone in and I said, can you just tell me what is your policy that I should let them know? What happens if they're not competent on their first attempt? What do we tell them? And the answer I got was, what do you mean you might not find them competent? And I said, well, what if they don't teach it? And she said, you're going to find them all competent. And I thought, oh, alarm bells ringing. Then we did our 3 sessions, and I came in closer to lunchtime, and I just said, we're getting close to finish. I was just wondering if you wanted to come in and say any thank yous to people or anything like that before I let them go. And she just had a tantrum. This is the CEO of this company in front of the whole office, screamed at me and said, what do you mean you're letting them go? We have paid you, not a lot, to be here for a full day, and you're going to make them be here for a full day, and there is no way. So I had to go in there and say, how about we go for lunch and we'll come back and we'll talk about things, right? And it was just the most ridiculous scenario. But realistically, it taught me a lot of things about what to check and what not to check. And, there were some things I could have done differently, and certainly some things they could have done differently. But happily, I never worked for them again.
Best celebrity moment?
Well, it was actually 5 hours with the celebrity who I didn't know was a celebrity. I was on a plane from Miami to Barbados, where I was born. And so we were going back home to see family. I was with my family. So my husband was rows back, sandwiched somewhere in a middle seat. And my 2 kids, I was sitting in a row of 3 with another couple I didn't know beside me. My 2 kids are in the same row, over sitting beside someone else. And the flight got delayed in takeoff, so we had the flight plus another couple of hours on the ground. It turns out that the wife of the couple beside me was terribly impressed with our kids. What she didn't know was that we'd just given them their first screens, iPads, and we said, no rules, you can do what you need to do to stay sane. So they were just like instant addicts, right? But that sorted them and made them look like these most beautifully behaved children. But as a result of that, the other thing about landing in Barbados, you have to fill in a landing card that is very confusing. So we got to be best friends working out how to fill this landing card in. Turns out he's a musician, and he was coming into Barbados just to do a show with some other people. He said a few other friends, and I said, what do you play? And he said, I do percussion. I said, oh, really? My son does percussion. Oh, that's lovely. So we finally get off the plane. He gave me his name and his number, and he said, yeah, if you want to come to the gig, here's, this is me. I can sort out tickets for you. And he even told my son, oh yeah, my bongo drum's up there. You should have a look. So all very nice. We go off. We had about 3 days in Barbados visiting family when it was all busy. And my husband then kept bugging me saying, who did you meet? Who was the guy? So finally, like on the day of the gig, they were playing a Saturday and a Sunday. And I finally pick it up on the Saturday. And I said, here's a piece of paper. I give it to my husband, the musician. He just starts having an anxiety. Yes, Lenny Castro. For those of us who don't know Lenny Castro, if we know the band Toto and we know the song Africa and all the right, it was him. So my poor husband just went, you sat beside him the whole time. But the good news was we did manage to go to the gig. Lenny organized tickets for us, so we all got to meet, and we went and had drinks with him afterwards. And he was just a lovely, lovely man. And the gig was absolutely amazing.
Something you believed, but nobody else did.
This happens every single time I go in to work with an organizational client. and they think they know what they want, but they don't. And I'm sure you've had that experience as well, Tom, many times. So where they will come to me and say, hello, we want you to come into our company and we want you to run this series of workshops in XYZ topic. For me, often it's, I want a certificate for in training and assessment. I want it to be accredited. And a lot of the times, the way I deal with it is just to, okay, terrific. And tell me more about that. Why do you want it? And where do you think this will take you? And probably 9 times out of 10, we end up talking them out of an accredited program and into what they really need.
Best advice.
Well, I'm thinking of this as maybe new L&D people is just get in there and care and do your best, and everything will be okay. I think in our industry, everybody thinks I have to do all the right things, say all the right things, be perfect at what I do. I know me working with new teachers, it's always, what if somebody asks a question that I don't know the answer to? Not what if, when. Say, great, that's a good one. I have no idea. Let's see if we can work this out. Perfection is so overrated. Care enough and go out there and have fun in this glorious industry of ours.
Thank you to our guest and to you for listening. If you want to boost the impact of your organisation's people development practices, I'd love to connect. You can find me at thomasbailey.co. Alternatively, you can look me up on LinkedIn.